Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart, and I really don't think that people have any idea just how powerful the way we dress is. I know this because I changed it completely in the last 18 months. I dressed like a different human being, and it's been massive. This is a picture of two different ways that an individual could dress. Dress is so powerful that the man in the suit, in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time, could literally have his life in danger. But if he was wearing the tank top, he would probably be fine. And the same thing applies to the man in the tank top. If he was in a wealthy neighborhood, there's a very good chance people wouldn't trust him. He'd be ignored, or maybe even people be hostile to him. So the way we dress greatly influences how people see us. The same thing applies to fragrances. If you took the same man dressed exactly the same way over the course of a year, he wore Versace Eros every single day, people would have a very different perception of him at the end of the year than if he wore Dior Homme Intense over the same period. Fragrance really can determine, if worn consistently, how people perceive us. YSL's La Nuit de l'Homme was one of the best-selling and certainly one of the most innovative fragrances of the 2010s, mainly because it focused on heavy doses of warm, spicy cardamom that gave it a very seductive feel. It was the date night fragrance of the decade, and I firmly believe that the date night fragrance of the 2020s is Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Male Le Parfum. And I say this because everybody knows just how important vanilla is in the modern world. Young guys are wearing sweet fragrances all the time, and it's changed the entire style of fragrance wear. And this has not just vanilla, but it also has all of that, a lot of that cardamom that you get in La Nuit de l'Homme. So it's got a beautiful mix, cardamom and vanilla, to update it to a modern style. Now, the beautiful thing here is Quentin Bisch tackled the problem with vanilla, which is essentially, it's not a sophisticated note, it's a little loud, and it's not subtle. So it's pleasant, but it's not seductive. He tackled that by adding in iris, which adds some sophistication, tones down the sweetness, and makes it really smooth. This, I believe, is the La Nuit de l'Homme of the 2020s. Now, I would not have said this 6 weeks ago, but I have seen the recent sales data come out, and this was not a big seller in North America. It did early on in Europe, but finally the general public has caught up with the fragrance community. This is now top 30 in sales in both places, North America and in Europe. And you have to remember, this is an individual fragrance, and in some of these lists, it's competing with entire fragrance lines. This is a seductive fragrance. Fragrance number 2 is the most dominant men's designer release in at least the last 5 years. This is Hugo Boss bottled Absolu 2024. And I say that there are 3 different ways this fragrance is dominant. First of all, performance. Now, when it comes to Europe, Hugo Boss is much more entrenched than it is in North America. It's popular in North America, but it's iconic. It's everywhere in Europe. They needed something to compete with niche. And one of the ways you do that is by making the fragrance really strong, because a lot of niche fragrances are strong. So this is a Parfum Intense, the most strong of the Hugo Boss bottled fragrances ever. And so, yeah, it's dominant in a very strong way. 8 to 10 hours in terms of performance, 3 hours of projection. This is super strong. The second thing about this is it's an incredibly masculine fragrance when everybody is releasing feminine style, either sweet vanilla fragrances or orange blossom based fragrances with the Myself line. And Hugo Boss comes out with something very masculine. Say whatever you like. Masculine generally is more dominant. Feminine is generally more submissive. And this is a very masculine fragrance. You look at the top 3 notes. Patchouli, incense, leather. I mean, those are all traditionally masculine notes. And thirdly, this is an incredibly bold scent. Even if you took away the performance here, this is not a shy fragrance. It's dark. It's powerful. It's got a bold feel to it. I mean, it was bold of the perfumers to make this in the first place, given the current state of the fragrance market, to make something so masculine. This is definitely a dominant fragrance. When it comes to cool and compose, there are a lot of different candidates that I could have chosen. I went with a personal choice, something that I really like. I went with Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extrême. Some will disagree, but others will understand. Now, I picked this despite the fact that it is well known the Jacques Paul and Chanel are famous for the old push-pull when it comes to fragrances. And in this particular case, the push-pull is fresh and cool and warm and creamy. And so you wouldn't think a warm and creamy fragrance would be good for cool and composed. But I think ultimately the fact that this is a sport fragrance, the fresh and cool win out. I mean, I wore this for a long time before I finally realized that it had tonka in it, because it's very subtle. Now, it is there, but it's not in your face. It's a subtle, very subtle note, and subtlety is also the essence of cool. And so, yeah, I think this one really does fit. This is the fragrance that I always think of when I think of James Bond style fragrance, because it's just very, very smooth. Smooth is another thing that is composed and cool. When it comes to creating a wealthy vibe for fragrance, to me, it was a no-brainer. I went with Ralph Lauren's Polo. And even if, unlike me, you find that this doesn't really smell like wealth, certainly they went all out to create an image of wealth, and they were certainly going for a wealthy feel in the fragrance as well. This was the very first Polo fragrance ever released. They didn't release a female fragrance until the 90s. And when you think of Polo, like Polo, it's not just horse racing that the sport of kings. Apparently, Polo is also considered the sport of kings. Polo is a wealthy sport. You've got the logo right here. And this was a very American fragrance created to compete with Guerlain and Azzaro back in the late 70s. And so American money is green. And this is a very bold green. And then it's also got gold accents that also give it a wealthy air. So Polo, the sport, the green, the money, and then the gold accents, definitely they were going for a wealthy vibe. And quite frankly, when I first smelled this, that's exactly what came to mind, is something of real wealth. The cultural signals around vetiver make it the ultimate note that exudes authority. And what I mean by that is, vetiver is clean, dry, and woody, and it creates an emotional distance between you and other people around you. And especially if you're in authority, you want that. You want to have an emotional distance. You want to tell people, look, I am not your friend. I'm not some warm, cuddly fragrance. This is clean. This is professional. Let's get to work. And also it sends a message, I am not your friend. This is a place of work. When it comes to vetiver, that is ultimate authority style of fragrance, and one of the best vetivers out there is Encre Noire à l'extrême from Lalique. Despite the fact that this is very inexpensive, it is one of my top 3 vetivers, and it's my favorite of all the Encre Noire line. This is a very high quality scent, despite its price tag. Now, it's got 3 vetiver notes. They don't list 3 on Fragrantica, but from what I've read, there's Haitian vetiver, Indonesian vetiver, and vetiver acetate. So it's layered, triple layered. So yeah, you got the triple layering of the vetiver. You've also got cypress and elemi, a little bit of bergamot off the top, freshness. But what separates this and makes it more wearable, more rounded for me, is that benzoin note that gives it an ambery feel. Now, it doesn't come across as warm particularly. It just evens the whole fragrance out. I find the original a little too earthy. I find the sport version a little bit too fresh. This one is just right. I absolutely love wearing this. I'm actually wearing it right now. Really solid performance. And the fact that the Encre Noire line is so inexpensive, if you want to have that particular vibe, if that's what appeals to you, it's the easiest one to do because you can get high quality vetiver scents at a reasonable price by going with Encre Noire. When it comes to summer fun fragrances, there's no question you have to look at the Jean Paul Gaultier Le Beau line of fragrances, and I happen to have all 3. Now, I haven't received Le Parfum yet. I've ordered it, but I have tried it many times before. But I didn't go with it because I don't see that as being a particularly easy wear in the summer. It is incredibly sweet. I went with the original Le Beau because it is summer fun. Now, I think the Paradise Garden is probably the best, most practical wear in the summer, but it's not quite as sweet as this, and we are going for fun here. I love the mixture of the coconut, the sweet element with the tonka, and then a little bit of freshness with the bergamot. I think it's a nice balance. You know, one's not sweet enough, one's too sweet, and this one is just right. Thankfully, I don't get crazy good performance here, which is, you don't want something like that's sweet with Great performance in the middle of the summer. And as you can see with the dent, I mean, I don't make big dents in my bottles because I have so many fragrances, but you can tell I really like this one. And summer fun, this is it. When I came up with the party boy aesthetic, immediately Versace Eros came to mind. That's why the Eros line was created. Donatella Versace. She had the Pour Homme line, but she realized she needed something fun and more youthful, and she created the entire Eros line to be clubbing scents. Now, however, I didn't go with Versace Eros or Eros Flame, mainly because Eros came out in 2012. I mean, that is somewhat dated, and I don't happen to think that Eros Najim, this fragrance right here, I don't think that this one was created for the Middle Eastern audience only, despite the fact that it's got a Middle Eastern name, the fact that it was originally released in the Middle East, and the fact that it also has oud and incense in it. All those signal a Middle Eastern style fragrance. The problem with that is this is mostly caramel. I don't know if I even pick up any oud or incense here. Really what I get is a real Eros vibe with a lot of caramel. So you're going to get cardamom as well with a little bit of warmth. You're going to get that mandarin, that classic Eros mandarin, and you're going to get a lot of caramel. It's a very modern note, and I think of this as a modernized Eros. I really think that's what they were trying to do. I think they succeeded, and I can't understand why more people don't like this as much as I do. I put this on my hand yesterday, and it lasted all day. I'm talking 12 hours. This is really strong. It's really fun. It's a great fun fragrance, and I guarantee you I'm going to go through this like crazy. I love Najim. I think it's a great party fragrance, and I don't care how old you are. Finally, we have Mr. Exotic, Mr. Mysterious, and for that, you've got to have, well, Mysterious, you've got to have oud, and I went with Oud Pashmina by Montale. It is a classic oud scent that's quite similar to Ombre Nomade. This is not quite as dark as Ombre Nomade, although it is fairly dark, but there's definitely a resemblance, and I think it's the best high quality Ombre Nomade-like fragrance on the market. Oud rose, vanilla, and musk. It's quite sweet. It's very powerful, and definitely oud is a mysterious vibe because oud's been around only 20 years in the Western world. People are still not super familiar with it, but anyway, I hope you guys like this. I went for different vibes for this one. You guys liked the last archetype video, so I thought, yeah, let's do another one. A little bit more research involved, but I think it was worth it. Thanks for watching.